Hello everyone, welcome to the continue session of last video. We were discussing about configuring and managing virtual networks for Azure administrators, and then we discussed configure virtual networks in our last video. Today we'll be discussing configure network security groups. Configure network security groups has uh, many units inside this. We will go one by one. So in this module, we'll learn when to use network security groups and how to create network security groups, implement and evaluate these rules, describe the function of application security groups. Introduction. Network security groups are a way to limit network traffic to resources in your virtual network. Network security groups contain a list of security rules that allow or deny inbound or outbound network traffic. Suppose your company has several locations and wants to migrate to cloud-based solution. The company only considers moving key systems onto the cloud platform if stringent security requirements can be met. These requirements include tight control over which computers have network access to the app servers. You need to secure both virtual machine networking and Azure services networking. Your goal is to prevent unwanted or unsecured network traffic from being able to reach key systems. So, implement network security groups. You can limit network traffic to resources in your virtual network using network security group. You can assign a network security group to a subnet or network interface. Okay. And define security rules in the group to control network traffic. So it is only for network subnet or network interface. Things to know about network security groups. Let's look at the characteristics of network security groups. A network security group contains a list of security rules that allow or deny inbound or outbound traffic. Yes, the network security group can be associated to a subnet or network interface. A network security group can be associated multiple times. It can be associated multiple times. You can create a network security group and define security rules in Azure portal. Network security groups are defined for your virtual machines in Azure portal. The overview page for virtual machine provides information about the associated network security groups. You can see the details such as assign subnets, assign network interfaces, and define security rules. Network security groups and subnets. You can assign network security groups to a subnet and create a protected screen subnet, also referred to as demilitarized zone or DMZ. A DMZ acts as a buffer between resources within your virtual network and the internet. Okay. Use the network security group to restrict traffic flow to all machines that reside within a subnet. Each subnet can have maximum of one associated network security group. Only one subnet should have one security group. Okay. Network security groups and network interfaces. You can assign network security groups to a network interface card. Define network security group rules to control all traffic that flows into NIC. Each network interface that exists in a subnet can have 0 or 1 associated network security group. Determine network security group rules. Security rules in network security groups enable you to filter network traffic. You can define rules to control the traffic flow in and out of virtual network subnets and network interfaces. Things to know about security rules. Let's review the characteristics of security rules in network security groups. Azure creates several default security rules within each network security group, including inbound traffic and outbound traffic. Examples of default rules include deny all inbound traffic and allow internet outbound traffic. Azure creates the default security rules in each network security group that you create. Okay. You can add more security rules to a network security group by specifying conditions for any of the following settings. Okay, these are the important things like name, priority, port, protocol, source, destination, and action. Each security rule is assigned a priority value. All security rules for network security group are processed in priority order. When rule has low priority value, the rule has high priority or precedence in terms of order processing. You cannot remove the default security rules. You can override a default security rule by creating another security rule that has a higher priority setting for your network security group. Great. Inbound traffic rules. Azure defines three default inbound security rules for your network security group. These rules deny all inbound traffic except traffic from your virtual network and Azure load balancers. Okay. Deny all inbound traffic. Deny all inbound traffic. Allow all Azure load balancer inbound traffic. Okay. Virtual network and Azure. Okay. Allow VNet inbound. Okay. The following images shown in the default inbound security rules for network security group in Azure portal. Exactly. So these are 65,000, 65,001, 65,500. Outbound traffic rules. Azure defines three default outbound security rules for your network security group. These rules only allow outbound traffic to the internet and your virtual network. Allow outbound traffic. Deny all outbound traffic. Yes. Allow internet outbound. Okay. Allow VNet outbound. Okay. Okay. The following image shows the default outbound security rules for a network security group in the Azure portal. If you see the last quiz we have done in the last session, end of the session, you must have seen something like can we connect to the internet through virtual network. So yes, we can connect to the internet because the setting is allowed here. Determine network security group effective rules. Next unit. Each network security group and its defined security rules are evaluated independently. Okay. Azure processes the conditions in each rule defined for each virtual machine in your org configuration. For inbound traffic, Azure first processes networks security group security rules for any associated subnets and then any associated network interfaces. For outbound traffic, the process is reversed. Azure first evaluates network security group security rules for any associated network interfaces followed by any associated subnets. Okay. For inbound, it will be evaluated from subnets and then it goes to the network interfaces. Okay. And outbound, it will be reverse. Okay. For both inbound and outbound evaluation process, Azure also checks how to apply the rules for intra-subnet traffic. How Azure ends up applying your defined security rules for virtual machine determines the overall effectiveness of your rules. Things to know about effective security rules. Let's explore how network security groups rules are defined and processed within a virtual network to yield effective rules. Consider the following virtual network configuration that shows network security groups controlling traffic to virtual machines. The configuration requires security rules to manage network traffic to and from the internet over TCP port 80 via the network interface. Okay. In this virtual network configuration, there are three subnets. 1, 2, 3. Subnet 1 contains two virtual machines, VM1 and VM2. Subnet 2 and 3 each contain one virtual machine, VM3 and VM4 respectively. Each VM has a network interface card. Okay, this is the network interface card. Okay. Azure evaluates each energy configuration to determine the effective security rules. Azure evaluates each network security configuration. Okay, we have network security 1, 2. Subnet 1, subnet 2. Network security 1, network security 1. Okay. Evaluation. VM1, subnet 1, NSG 1, VM2, subnet 1, NSG 1. Okay. VM3, subnet 2, VM4, subnet 3. NIC, NSG 2. Okay. NSG1 subnet rules have precedence over NSG2 NIC rules. NSG1, yes. NSG2 NIC rules have precedence over NSG1 subnet rules. Outbound rules. NSG2 NIC rules have precedence over NSG1 subnet rules. See, subnet 1 contains two virtual machines VM1 and V2. Each VM has a network interface card. Subnet 1 NSG1 network interface card NSG2. So, for inbound traffic, first NSG1 subnet rules have precedence. NSG2 rules. For outbound traffic, NSG2 has precedence over NSG1. This is correct only. Because this statement has mentioned here, right? For inbound traffic, first processes network security group rules for any associated subnets and then any associated network interfaces. So here NIC has its own security group, subnet has its own security group. So for inbound wise, subnets to NIC. So NSG1 to NSG2 precedent like that. So for VM2, NIC has no subnet, no network security group. NSG1 subnet rules apply both subnet and NIC. Azure default rules apply to NIC and NSG1 subnet rules apply to subnet only. Okay. Next. Inbound traffic effective rules. Azure processes rules for inbound traffic for all VMs in the configuration. Azure identifies if the VMs are members of NIC, if they have an associated subnet or NIC. When NIC is created, Azure creates a default security rule, deny all inbound for the group. The default behavior is to deny all inbound traffic from the internet. If a NIC has subnet or NIC, the rules for the subnet or NIC can override the default Azure security rules. Okay. When NSG is created, only the default security will be deny all inbound. Deny all inbound. We discussed in the last chapter. There will be three rules, right? Deny all inbound. The default behavior is to deny all inbound traffic from the internet. If NSG has a subnet or NIC, the rules for the subnet or NIC can override the default Azure security rules. NSG inbound rules for a subnet in a VM take precedence over NSG inbound rules for NIC in the same VM. Okay. Outbound traffic effective rules. Azure processes rules for outbound traffic by first examining NSG association for all NICs in all VMs. When NSG is created, Azure creates a default security rule allow internet outbound for the group. The default behavior is to allow all outbound traffic to the internet. If an NSG has a subnet or NIC, the rules for the subnet or NIC can override the default Azure security rules. NSG outbound rules for NIC in a VM takes precedence over NSG outbound rules for a subnet in the same VM. This is already known. We know that. Things to consider when creating effective rules. Great. If you have several network security groups and we aren't sure which security rules are being applied, you can use the effective security rules link in the Azure portal. You can use the link to verify which security rules are applied to your machine, subnets and network interfaces. Okay, for verification. So we have to discuss these things. Consider allowing all traffic. Consider importance of allowed rules. Consider intra-subnet traffic. Consider rule priority. So let's go to the top from bottom. The security rules for a network security group are processed in priority order. To ensure particular security rule is always processed, assign the lowest possible priority value to the rule. It's a good practice to leave gaps in your priority numbering, such as 100, 200, 300 and so. The gaps in the numbering allow you to add new rules without having to edit existing rules. Consider intra-subnet traffic. The security rules for a network security group that associated to a subnet can affect traffic between all virtual machines in a subnet. By default, Azure allows virtual machines in the same subnet to send traffic to each other, referred to as intra-subnet traffic. You can prohibit intra-subnet traffic by defining a rule in network security group to deny all inbound and outbound traffic. Oh my god. This rule prevents all virtual machines in a subnet from communicating with each other. Right? Consider importance of allow rules. When you create network security group, you must define allow rule for both subnet and network interface in the group to ensure traffic can get through. If you have a subnet or NIC in your network security group, you must define an allow rule to each level. Otherwise, the traffic is denied for any level that doesn't provide an allow rule definition. Allowing traffic, all traffic. If you place your virtual machine within a subnet or utilize a network interface, you don't have to associate a subnet or NIC with any network security group. This approach allows all network traffic through subnet or NIC according to the default Azure security rules. If you are not concerned about controlling traffic to your resource at any specific level, then don't associate your resource at the level to a network security group. Yeah, we will add according to the need. So we have seen this already. So create network security group rules. Next unit. It is easy to add security rules to control inbound and outbound traffic in Azure portal. You can configure your virtual network security group rule setting and select from large variety of communication services including HTTPS, RDP, FTP and DNS. Things to know about configuring security rules. Let's look at some of the properties you need to specify to create your security rules. As you review these settings, think about the traffic rules you need to create and what services can fulfill your network requirements. Source identifies how security rule controls inbound traffic. The value specifies specific IP address range that is allowed or denied. The source filter can be any resource, any IP address range, an application security group or a default tag. Okay, this much. Destination identifies how the security rule controls outbound traffic. The value specifies a specific destination address range that allowed or denied. The destination filter value is similar to the source filter. The value can be any resource, IP address range, application security group or default tag. Service specifies the destination protocol and port range for the security rule. You can choose predefined service like RDP, SSH or provide custom port range. There are large number of services to select from. Okay, these are all type of services. Priority. Assign the priority order value for the security rule. Rules are processed according to priority order of all rules for the network security group, including a subnet, net and network interface. The lower the priority value, the higher the priority for the rule. Implement application security groups. The next. So You can implement application security groups in Azure Virtual Network to logically group your virtual machines by workload. You can then define your network security groups rules based on your application security groups. Things to know. Application security groups work in the same way as network security groups, but they provide application-centric way of looking at your infrastructure. You join your virtual machines to an application security group, then you use application security group as a source or destination in the network security group rules. Let's examine how to implement application security groups by creating a configuration for an online literal. In our example scenario, we need to control traffic to virtual machines in application security group. Great. This is web application security group. This is DB application security group. Scenario requirements. Here are the scenarios requirements for our example configuration. We have 6 virtual machines in our configuration with 2 web servers and 2 DB servers. Great. The customer access the online catalog hosted in our web servers. Okay, this one. The web servers must be accessible from the internet over HTTP 80 and HTTPS 443. Inventory information is stored in our database servers. Great. The database servers must be accessible over HTTPS port 1433. Only our web servers should have access to our database servers. Solution. For our scenario, we need to build the following configuration. Create application security groups for the virtual machines. Create application security group named WebASG to group our virtual machines. Create application security group named DBASG to group our database server machines. Assign the network interface for the virtual machines. For each virtual machine server, assign its NIC to the appropriate application security group. For each virtual machine server, assign its NIC. Okay. Create the network security group and security rules. Oh, it has energy here overall. It's an application security group. Great. Let's see what it has inside. Rule 1. Set priority 100. Allow access from the internet to machines in web's ASG group from HTTP port 80 and HTTPS port 43. Rule 1 has the lowest priority value, so it's precedence over the rules in the group. Customer access to online catalog is paramount in our design. Great. Set priority 110. Allow access from virtual machines in WebASG group to machines in the DBASG group over HTTPS port 443. Rule 3. Set priority 120. Deny access from any way to machines in DBASG group over the HTTPS port 1433. The combination of Rule 2 and Rule 3 ensures that only our web servers can access our database server. This security configuration protects our inventory databases from outside attack. Things to consider. Consider IP address maintenance. Consider no subnets. Consider simplified rules. Consider workload support. Let's go from bottom to up approach now. A configuration that implements application security groups is easy to maintain and understand because the organization is based on workload usage. Application security groups provide logical arrangements for your application, services, data storage, and workloads. Application security group help eliminate the need for multiple rule sets. You don't need to create separate rule for each virtual machine. You can dynamically apply new rules to designated application security groups. New security rules are automatically applied to all the virtual machines in the specified application security group. Consider no subnets. By organizing your virtual machines into application security groups, you don't need to also distribute your servers across specific subnets. You can arrange your servers by application and purpose to achieve logical grouping. Right? When you control network traffic by using application security groups, you don't need to configure inbound or outbound traffic for specific IP addresses. If you have many virtual machines in your configuration, it can be difficult to specify all of the affected IP addresses. As you maintain your configuration, the number of your servers can change. These changes can require you to modify how to support different IP addresses in security rules. Interactive lab simulation. So let's read this again. You don't need to configure inbound traffic for specific IP addresses. Okay, because we'll mention the application security group right there. Fine. Interactive lab simulation. I'm excited. I don't know how it would be. Create and configure network security group. Wants to ensure virtual machine is restricted. Access to virtual machine. Create and configure network security groups. Associate network security group to virtual machines. Deny allow access to virtual machines by using network security groups. Inbound port role allow RDP. Outbound port role deny internet. Task 1. Create virtual machine to test the network security. Create a Windows Server virtual machine. Don't configure inbound port roles or NIC network security groups. Verify the virtual machine is created. Review inbound port role tab. Create network security group. Great. Okay, we create that. We need to enable allow. Let's see.
Welcome to this exam guide to exercise 13 of Microsoft Azure Fundamentals. To navigate this guide, follow the prompts on the screen, or use your forward and back arrows. Microsoft Azure Fundamentals. In this exercise, you'll configure a network security group. This exercise is made up of 4 tasks. Click Virtual Machines. Click the Create drop-down arrow and select Virtual Machine. On the base, provide a name for the resource group and then click OK. Scroll down to continue. On the Basics tab, fill in the information as shown on your screen. Leave the defaults for everything else. Advance to the Networking tab. Next, click Next. Next to Boot, leave the remaining defaults and click Review and Create. Once validation is passed, click Create. When deployment completes, scroll down and click Go to Resource. On the Simple WinV, review the Inbound Port Rules tab and notice that there is no network security group associated with the network interface of the virtual machine or the subnet to which the network interface is. In this task, you'll create a network security group and associate it with the network interface. From the Azure Portal homepage, click the menu. Click All Services. Search for and select Network Security Groups. Click Create. Select the resource group you just created. Next, provide a name for the security group. We'll use MyNSG Secure. Click Review and Create. After validation passes, click Create. After the network security, click Associate. Click the Network Interface Associations drop-down arrow, and then select the network interface you identified in the previous task. Click OK. This task is now complete. Click anywhere to continue. In the Azure portal, navigate to the blade of the Simple WinVM virtual machine. On the Overview tab, click Connect. Attempt to connect to the virtual machine using RDP. On the virtual machine blade in the left menu, click Networking. configure the inbound security rule with the values shown on your screen. Click Add. When the rule is provisioned, try again to RDP into the virtual machine. This time, you should be successful. Use the credentials for Azure User. In this task, you will create a NSG outbound port. Continuing in the virtual machine RDP, verify that you can access bing.com. We will now configure a rule to deny. In the Azure portal, click Outbound Port. Configure a new outbound security rule with a higher priority that will deny internet traffic. Click Add. Return to your RDP session. Browse to bing.com. Close the RDP session. This exercise is now complete. You can now click below to continue to the next exercise.
So that is how we have configured the rules, inbound port rules. We created a network security group. We disabled internet. We don't have access to internet, that we checked it as well. Let's do the knowledge check. Company is migrating several sites to Azure. You need to ensure virtual machine networking in Azure services networking both are secure. Okay. Infrastructure team has two network security group security rules for inbound traffic to backend web servers. There is an allow rule with priority 200 and deny rule with a priority of 150. The IT team wants to apply new and pre-existing Azure service tags for virtual machine IP addresses. You are exploring how to use default rules to apply security to inbound traffic from virtual machines within a virtual network. Which of the security rules defined by the infrastructure team takes precedence? So, allow rule with a priority of 200, deny with 150. So, deny rule takes precedence because it has a lower number. How would you define a default inbound security rule? How would you define a default inbound security rule? Default. Now let's come to the next question. What's a valid service type for network security group rules? Did this virtual network, VPN gateway, database, network security group rules. Let's select this. How would you define a default inbound security rule? Allow inbound coming from virtual machine in another virtual network. Allow traffic from any external source to any of the virtual machines. Allow inbound coming from any virtual machine to any other virtual machine within the virtual network. Let's click this. Let's see the answers. Great. Review answers. Let's see. So The deny rule takes precedence. Deny rules are processed first. The rule with 150 priority is processed before the rule with priority 200. Correct by default. Correct. By default, inbound security rules allow traffic from any virtual machine to any virtual machine within the network. How would you define a default inbound security rule? How would you define a default inbound security rule? Why would we define? Here, by default, it's saying. I don't understand. Why would I define when it is by default? Inbound coming from any virtual machine to any other virtual machine within the virtual network. What's a valid service tag for network security group rules? Correct. Virtual network is a valid service tag. Service tags represent a group of IP addresses. Other service tags are Internet, SQL, Storage, Azure Load Balancer, Azure Traffic Manager. Internet, SQL, Storage, Virtual Network. Great. Let's go to the summary. The main takeaways are network security groups are essential for controlling network traffic in Azure Virtual Networks. Energy rules are evaluated and processed based on priority and can be created for subnets and network interfaces. Effective energy rules can be achieved by considering rules precedence, yes, intra-subnet traffic, and managing rule priority. Application security groups provide an application-centric view of infrastructure and simplify rule management. Great. Okay. Thanks for watching this video. We will meet again for the next chapter. Thank you.